The hidden story behind the Met Gala's most iconic dress. I never meant to go viral. Hell, I didn't even own a ring light. The outfit that started everything was made on my bedroom floor, between shifts at the hotel and answering emails from people who thought diversity in fashion meant putting a black model in a beige suit. I was a 25-year-old nobody with a sewing machine that stalled if I pushed it past medium speed, using discount fabric and half-spilled dreams. The pants were cut from dead stock while I found in a warehouse in Jersey. The blazer was stitched from an old velvet curtain my aunt was going to throw out. I added a twist, asymmetrical lapels, bright crimson lining, and this tiny embroidered pattern of Sankofa birds along the inside seams. It was a nod to where I came from, not just Ghana, but the long, silent legacy of being invisible and hypervisible at the same time. I called it the history jacket, and then I posted it. Not on purpose. I sent a photo to a friend, who posted it on Twitter, who tagged someone bigger, and somehow it landed in the lap of Sienna Sky. Yes, that's Sienna Sky. The pop R&B chaos queen with 6 Grammys, a fragrance deal, and an attitude hotter than her red carpet looks. She slid into my DMs like it was nothing. This jacket goes hard AF. You sell. I stared at the screen for a solid 2 minutes. Thought it was fake. Then my phone buzzed again. Please tell me you made this. I need it for a thing. The thing turned out to be a photo shoot. She paid me up front, like real money, not exposure, and overnight the piece to LA. 3 days later, my jacket was on her Instagram grid with 3.1 million likes. No tag, no credit, just a caption. Vibes. I should have been furious. But then Vogue DM'd me, and then Essence, and then her stylist reached out again. Sienna wants you on her design team for the Met Gala. NDA attached. Let's talk. I didn't breathe for what felt like 20 whole minutes. Me, the girl who learned to sew on borrowed YouTube accounts. Me, who grew up wearing uniforms until college and repurposed thrift store clothes to look less poor, not more stylish. I was going to the Met Gala. I told my mom over the phone, and she cried. Then she said, "Don't let them turn you into one of them." I laughed. I am one of them now. But even as I said it, I felt a sting behind my ribs. Because I knew what she meant. By the time the paperwork hit my inbox, I was halfway through sketching a new piece, something grand, something unapologetic. A blend of European silhouette and West African tapestry, bold colors, high collar, intricate beading. A jacket that didn't whisper. It announced. Then came the first note from Sienna's team. Can we simplify this? Less pattern. Maybe tone down the cultural motifs. I stared at the email, rereading it 3 times. The same jacket they'd loved on Instagram was now too specific. Too loud. Too me. I took a deep breath, opened a new sketchpad, and started over. Just to see. Just to compare. One version true to me. One version built for their world. And for the first time in my life, I wondered, what if the price of entry was invisibility dressed up in couture? There's a specific kind of silence that fills a room when you're erasing yourself one sketch line at a time. I had 3 versions of the look taped to my wall. Version A, bold, mine, woven in bloodline and memory. Version B, softened edges, faded color, no symbols, just vague elegance. Version C, what they called marketable. Basically a bastardized YSL ripoff with my name airbrushed on the back. Sienna's team circled B. They said it had range. What they meant was palatable. We don't want to alienate audiences, her stylist said during one of our Zoom calls, her tone sugar-coated and slicing. We want to uplift all Black voices, but also appeal to global tastes. Global tastes, as in white funders. Fashion houses run by aging Europeans with opinions about urban edge. Editors who could pronounce Givenchy but couldn't say my name without stumbling. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded, took notes, smiled like a mannequin with a purpose. In the days leading up to the gala, I was everywhere. I was flown out, fitted, and placed in a Times article titled, "Rising Designers to Watch This Met Season." They called my style Afro-infused minimalism. I hadn't made anything minimal in my life. Every detail in my work was there to scream. I was here. I mattered. But now my voice was being transcribed by someone else's pen. Even my own team, the one they assigned me, kept suggesting changes. One in turn asked if we could swap the bird embroidery for something less specific. Less specific? Yeah, like abstract shapes? Still meaningful, but more universal. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I knew the code. Universal meant white without saying white. I FaceTimed my mom while fitting the final garment. She took one look and said, "Why does it look like you designed that for someone else?" I told her it was collaborative. She looked straight at me and said, "You're stitching your silence into that fabric. And when they hang you out to dry, it'll look perfect." She wasn't wrong. By the time the final design was approved, I felt like a ghost standing in a gown. It was beautiful, no one could deny that, but it was sterile, slick, safe. A couture costume for a designer they didn't really want. Just the illusion of me, vacuum sealed for PR season. The night before the gala, I found the original jacket, the history jacket. Still folded, still stained with the ink I'd spilled sketching it on notebook paper. I held it up in front of the hotel mirror and saw someone I missed. Not famous, not polished, just hungry, brilliant, and unbothered. For a second, I thought about switching the look. Walking the red carpet in that jacket. The one that started it all. But then I thought of the headlines. The backlash. The deals on the line. The celebrities who'd drop me in a heartbeat. So I folded the jacket and placed it gently back in the suitcase. And as I zipped it shut, I felt something in me do the same. They sent a car with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. Maybe it was meant to feel luxurious. It just felt like transport to a public execution. I sat in the back seat. The final version of the dress laid across my lap like a glass coffin, silk charcoal, sharp angles, subtle texture, and not a single visible sign of the culture that made me. The embroidery had been moved inside the lining. Hidden. A compromise, they said. A burial, I thought. We arrived at the Met, and everything happened fast. Handlers, flashes, stylists tucking loose strands and whispering camera left, security barking names and placements. I wasn't even in the dress, Sienna was. She stepped out like she'd descended from a spaceship, 6 feet of charisma and diamonds, wearing the creation I bled for. And the crowd loved her. The carpet roared. Photographers shouted her name, their voices crashing over one another like waves. "Sienna, over here. Stunning. Who are you wearing?" She looked directly at the cameras and said, "Custom. One of my new favorite designers. Up and coming. No name. No tag. No credit. Just one of." I stood behind the barricade with my badge around my neck, smiling for the cameras like they were looking at me and not just the echo of me draped over her frame. I wanted to scream her name, yell mine louder. But I stayed quiet, like I was trained to. They told me I'd have my moment later, in the press room, in the after-party interviews. The press was too hectic right now. There would be time. There's always time until there isn't. At the after-party, I watched my dress disappear into a sea of influencers and executives. Everyone wanted to know who designed it. No one actually cared to ask me. Someone from Vogue came up and said, "That dress is genius. Reminds me of early Tom Ford, but elevated." I opened my mouth. Sienna's publicist stepped in. "We're calling it Dark Renaissance." So sharp, right? I was pushed aside by a man with champagne and a chin implant. He shook my hand, but called me Baby Dior. Laughed like it was a compliment. One of the editors handed me her card and said, "This could be the beginning of something. We're always looking for fresh voices. Fresh. Not real. Not yours. Just new. Disposable." I finally saw the Vogue online piece around midnight. Sienna's look was ranked third best of the night. The designer credited? No name. Just custom collaboration with a rising talent from New York. I'm from Newark. They didn't even get the city right. Back in the hotel, I peeled off my badge like it was burning through my skin. The history jacket was still there in the suitcase. I sat with it on the edge of the bed. Not crying. Just hollow. This was everything I ever wanted. Except now that I had it, I wasn't sure what part of me survived to enjoy it. The next week was a blur. Articles. DMs. Requests. Suddenly, everyone had always believed in me. Brilliant debut. Pure vision. Next-gen couture. They didn't know my name, but they loved my silhouette. Every publication reused the same press kit photos, none of them showing me. Just Sienna. Just her pose. Just her magic. Borrowed. Lit up in silk I stitched with my own hands and regrets. One stylist posted a carousel of inspiration from the Met and listed my look between Chanel and Mugler, but with a blank credit line. Just unknown designer. Giving. Giving? I gave everything. Meanwhile, offers poured in. Deals with brands that had ignored me for years. Internships at houses I couldn't afford to intern for 5 months ago. A capsule line, under their name, powered by me. I'd get 7% of net. My label wouldn't appear on the tags. One rep from a massive agency said, "We want to package you for international reach. Strip it down. Globalize the edge. Think, clean. Cross-market friendly. Afro implied, not loud. Afro implied, not loud. Not lived. Not me. Sienna finally texted. You killed it. Fire, fire, fire. Press is obsessed. Let's build. Let's build. Like I was her seamstress sidekick. Like I hadn't built this look from my lineage. Like I hadn't written my history into the seams of a dress they wore for headlines. She asked me to join her creative cohort. Said she was launching a fashion line. Wanted me as lead mind behind the brand, silent partner style. Silent. That was the word that broke me. I went quiet for 2 days. Ignored emails. Declined interviews. I took the history jacket out of the suitcase and hung it on the back of the door. Looked at it like an old friend I ghosted. Then I did something reckless. I posted a thread. Tweet 1. Met Gala was a dream. Until it wasn't. Here's a story about a dress, a name, and the cost of being seen but not acknowledged. Thread. Tweet 2. I designed the piece Sienna wore. Every inch of it. The lining that no one saw? It carried my heritage. The rest? It was stripped until it fit someone else's comfort. Tweet 3. They loved my style as long as it didn't make them name me. Tweet 4. I'm done being a silhouette. I'm done being the next big thing until they can steal it safely. Tweet 5. I'm not anonymous anymore. Attached, a photo of the original jacket. The real one. The one they didn't want to show. It exploded. Comments. Reposts. Think pieces. Some were ugly. You knew what you signed up for. Others were worse. You should be grateful. But most were furious. On my behalf. On behalf of every designer who'd been mined for clout and then deleted from their own story. Someone made side-by-side comparisons. Another dug up receipts, emails, sketch leaks, early drafts. The truth was out. And this time, my name wasn't left off the byline. A week after the tweet thread, Sienna called me. Not her assistant. Not her stylist. Her. She opened with the usual, "Hey love, saw your post. Wild few days, huh? Wild. Like I'd thrown a tantrum at a tea party and ruined the aesthetic. I think we need to get on the same page," she said, her voice cool like she wasn't fully convinced I deserved to be mad. This could have been handled internally. Internally, the favorite word of people who benefit from your silence. I didn't answer. She pivoted. Look, this is bigger than both of us. We're building something. We can still fix this. Publicly. I imagined the press release. Misunderstanding resolved, designer and star reunite for cultural fashion movement. They'd call it a win for inclusion. I'd call it a fresh coat of white paint on a gravestone. No, I said. Simple. Sharp. Final. There was a pause. Then she said the line I'll never forget. You're going to regret making yourself difficult. I smiled. I hope so. I did one interview. Just one. Not for Vogue. Not for Elle. For a small black-owned digital mag out of Baltimore that once ran my student portfolio when no one else would respond. They asked one question. If you could do it over, would you change anything? I said, yes. I would have worn the jacket myself. Even if it meant no carpet, no Sienna, no Met. I'd rather be ignored for telling the truth than celebrated for playing dead. That quote went viral. But not as viral as what came next. 2 weeks later, the history jacket went on display. Not at MoMA. Not in a museum curated by gatekeepers finally trying to be inclusive. In a storefront pop-up gallery in Brooklyn. On my terms. The plaque didn't list collaborators. Didn't soften or reinterpret anything. It said, Designer, my full name. Title, what they didn't want you to see. Materials, velvet. Wool, bloodline. Resentment, fire. Status, not for sale. Outside, the line wrapped around the block. People took pictures, not of celebrities, of truth, not of what made the carpet, of what they tried to bury under it. I still get offers. Some are better, cleaner, but they always come with soft requests. Can you dial it back? Can you smooth it out? Can you shine without burning? My answer now is consistent. If my work doesn't make you uncomfortable, I'm not designing. I'm decorating your silence. And I didn't survive all this just to be invisible in 4K. The last time I wore the history jacket, I was walking through the city alone. No carpet. No clicks. Just my own damn runway. And people stared. Not because it was famous. Because it was loud. And for once, no one tried to turn the volume down.